Nobody on Earth saw the streaks of silver until they were already cutting across the night sky, moving with a precision no meteor ever had. North America caught the first alarms, strange shapes dropping through the clouds in perfect formation, silent as falling snow. People stood on streets and rooftops, pointing up with stunned confusion. No thunder, no warning, just an invasion arriving with calm confidence, as if Earth were nothing more than a box to be opened. The ships settled in the upper atmosphere, thousands of them, arranged in smooth circular patterns. Analysts would later say it looked like a net being lowered over the planet. At that moment, though, it felt like the sky itself had been replaced. Command centers across the United States and Canada lit up with urgent orders. Radars flickered, scrambled, and then fully stabilized with one truth. Whatever these visitors were, they had studied Earth long before showing themselves. In Colorado, at the Continental Defense Network, Commander Ellis Maddox stared at the displays with a tightening jaw. He was a calm, methodical man, known for making decisions the way surgeons make cuts, only when they matter. And this moment mattered more than any in his lifetime. The aliens broadcast no greetings, demands, or warnings. They simply positioned their vessels with chilling precision, as if expecting Earth to kneel out of sheer confusion. Dr. Kiera Lowell, an astrophysicist brought in minutes after the detection, studied the readings closely. Her voice trembled only once when she whispered, "They think we're not a threat." Unbeknownst to humanity, far above the planet, the invading species, known to themselves as the Thal, watched Earth with practiced certainty. For generations, they had conquered worlds weaker than their own, relying on technology so advanced it made most resistance obsolete. They believed Earth would be the same, a simple push, a quick subjugation. Their first mistake. Humanity did what no one in the galaxy ever had when discovering overwhelming force at their doorstep. They united within minutes. Every agency, every military branch, every scientific institution snapped into motion as if a switch had been thrown. This wasn't panic. This wasn't surrender. This was resolve. Because the Thal misjudged something critical. Humans are unpredictable, stubborn, and at their best only when chaos takes the stage. As global networks shifted into emergency coordination, a quiet message spread from nation to nation. Protect Earth. Stand together. No hesitation. Commander Maddox felt it too, that deep ancient spark that had pushed humanity across oceans, over mountains, into the air, and eventually into the stars. A spark the Thal would never understand. Kiera leaned closer to the screen, eyes narrowing as she examined energy fluctuations rippling from the alien fleet. "They're powering something," she said. "But the pattern, it's not a weapon we recognize." Maddox nodded once. "Then we learn fast." A soft rumble passed through the command center as Earth's early response satellites activated. Thousands of sensors, long thought experimental, blinked online. A sphere of defense, fragile, imperfect, but human-built, formed around the planet. The first pulse from the Thal ships brushed against it. Not an attack, a test. As if they wanted to see how easily Earth would break. The shield flickered, held, barely. Technicians cheered, startled by the victory. But Maddox didn't smile. He knew this was only the beginning. Kiera stepped back, breath catching as she stared at the growing light spreading across the alien fleet. "This isn't a test anymore," she said quietly. "They're starting their real operation." The room fell silent as the alien formation shifted into a new pattern, smooth, deliberate, and unmistakably hostile. Earth stood on the edge of something vast and terrifying. And humanity, for the first time in its history, was about to discover what it truly was when pushed to the brink. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more cosmic tales of human courage. The alien light brightened again, casting eerie reflections across every command screen. Something immense was coming. The first wave of alien light washed across the sky like a second dawn, bright enough to make cities pause and look upward. People from Vancouver to Miami stepped outside their homes, their workplaces, their vehicles, staring into a sky pulsing with something that felt both beautiful and terrifying. Commander Ellis Maddox watched the glow intensify on his monitors, the readings rising faster than any prediction model could track. "Whatever they're activating," he said softly, "it's meant to disable us without destroying the planet." Dr. Kiera Lowell studied the patterns, her fingers racing over the interface. "They're using harmonic disruption," she murmured, "targeting every major power grid at once. If they hit full strength, our defenses go dark." Maddox didn't hesitate. "Then we get ahead of them." Around the world, emergency crews and military units switched to fortified backup systems. Hydrogen reserves were released, microreactors spun up, and long-stored prototype batteries, built for disasters but never tested under real threat, roared awake. Humanity had spent generations preparing for catastrophes of its own making. Now, those preparations became its first line of survival. The alien pulse struck. It rippled through the atmosphere like a curtain of invisible force, brushing across continents, oceans, and mountains. Lights flickered across the globe, but they did not go out. Power grids bent without breaking, and humanity's improvised energy buffers absorbed far more of the hit than any alien strategist had accounted for. The Thal watched from orbit with disbelief. Dr. Lowell saw it too. "They underestimated our redundancy systems," she said. "They thought we only had one way to keep the lights on." Maddox exhaled once. "And now they know we don't fall that easily." A second pulse charged in the alien formation, brighter, sharper, preparing to drop with far more force than the first. This one would not test Earth. It would try to crush it. Inside the command center, Maddox issued a global directive. "Activate Project Sentinel." Every technician froze, stunned by the words. Project Sentinel was more myth than protocol, an idea born after decades of quiet global cooperation. A hidden network of experimental satellites, deep Earth resonance shields, and atmospheric amplifiers that many believed would never be used. Until now. Across the world, ancient facilities rumbled awake. Vast, silent vaults under the Rockies, the Andes, the Canadian Shield, and the oceans began to hum with synchronized tones. In orbit, dark satellites, dormant for years, opened like steel flowers. People who had never heard of Project Sentinel suddenly felt the ground trembling under their feet, not violently, but with a steady, rising vibration like the deep voice of the planet itself. Lowell glanced at Maddox. "Sentinel was designed for asteroids, solar flares, not this." "It's all we have," he replied. The alien pulse dropped. Earth answered. Sentinel's resonance lifted into the sky, meeting the alien energy halfway. For a moment, the upper atmosphere turned into a shimmering veil. Alien tech pushing down, human tech pushing up. A silent duel in the thin air above the world. The command center lights flickered. Monitors shook. People grabbed desks to stay steady. But the planet did not buckle. The Thal pulse fractured, scattering into harmless ribbons of light that faded like sunbeams through clouds. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the invaders witnessed a world that refused to kneel. Dr. Lowell gasped quietly. "They're recalibrating," she warned. "They're preparing a third strike, stronger, faster. They're adapting." Maddox felt the weight of the moment settle into his chest. "Good," he said, "because we are done reacting." He stepped forward, issuing an order that stunned every operator in the room. "Bring the Horizon Array online." Lowell's eyes widened. That's offensive tech. It's still untested. Maddox looked at the sky stretching above them, filled with ships that believed Earth would be easy prey. He said softly, "We're not waiting for round 3. The screens lit with the glow of systems powering up. Systems humanity never wanted to use. The aliens thought this planet was fragile. They were about to learn how wrong they were." A deep tremor rolled across the facility as the Horizon Array reached full charge. Something vast was about to awaken. The ground shivered with a low metal hum, the kind that settled into bone and refused to fade. All across North America, seismic sensors registered the same deep-frequency vibration rising through the crust. People stepped out of homes and apartments, glancing at the trembling street signs and humming window frames, sensing something powerful waking beneath their feet. Commander Ellis Maddox stood over the control deck as systems across the world synced to the same impossible frequency. The Horizon Array, once an experiment buried in classified archives, was finally alive. Dr. Kiera Lowell watched the energy readouts climb higher than any projection the scientific community had ever dared to model. "It's stabilizing," she whispered. "I can't believe it. The array is actually stabilizing." Human engineers had invented the Horizon Array not as a weapon, but as a desperate failsafe. It was built to manipulate atmospheric charge, redirect electromagnetic flow, and, if absolutely necessary, disrupt objects in low orbit. No one ever imagined Earth would need it for a hostile fleet. Yet, here they were. Above the planet, the Thal ships were shifting into their third formation, sleeker, more compact, no longer testing Earth's defenses, but preparing to crack them. They had conquered dozens of worlds using this strategy. To them, the next steps were routine. They didn't understand that routine was exactly what humans never followed. Maddox issued the next command with calm certainty. Primed the array targeting grid. Technicians worked fast, locking on to the alien fleet. The grid began rendering ship outlines, sleek, elegant, and cold, moving with mechanical grace high above the planet. Kira leaned forward as the system scanned their hulls. They're built out of a layered composite, conductive, dense. They rely almost entirely on shielding tech for protection. Meaning? Maddox asked. Meaning they never expected atmospheric interference to be a threat. She met his gaze. Horizon was designed for atmospheric manipulation. A spark of realization flickered in Maddox's eyes. Earth wasn't about to fire a beam. Earth was about to shift the battlefield itself. The array began pulling energy from global capacitor banks, massive underground reservoirs storing decades of experimental charge. Cities dimmed slightly as the power grid rerouted. Riverside turbines, geothermal vents, and hydrogen reserves all contributed to the building storm. People across the world paused as the sky changed color. Clouds twisted into spirals. Blue tinges shimmered through the upper atmosphere. A soft, breath-like wind moved across continents, brushing leaves, windows, and rooftops. Earth was preparing to speak. The Thal saw the shift. Their ships flashed with warning indicators. They tried to pull back, but the formation lines locked them in place. They were not permitted to retreat, not for a world they believed beneath them. In the command center, the Horizon Array reached full charge. Maddox lowered his voice. "Kira, hit the resonance." She pressed her palm to the authorization plate. The array activated. Earth's atmosphere rippled like a living fabric. A wave of electromagnetic distortion surged upward, silent yet powerful, reshaping the air currents, ionizing layers of sky the Thal depended on for shield stability. Sudden currents wrapped around alien hulls, dragging at them, twisting their energy signatures, forcing their ships to compensate faster than their systems were designed for. The Thau fleet staggered. Their formation warped. Lines broke. Ships drifted off course. The invaders were no longer gliding through a calm planet. They were fighting the sky itself. Dr. Lowell's breath trembled. "It's working. We're destabilizing them." But then the monitors flashed red. The Thau adapted. Their vessels shifted into a defensive lattice, rebalancing their shields with alarming speed. Their technology was more advanced than anything Earth had faced, and adapting under pressure was their specialty. They began pushing through the atmospheric distortion, slowly regaining control. "We shook them," Maddox said, jaw tightening. "But we didn't stop them." The screens pinged. A new pattern emerged across the alien formation, one Kiera had never seen before. A concentrated cluster forming near the fleet's center. She froze. "They're preparing a counterstrike." The room went silent as the alien cluster brightened, charging an energy mass far stronger than the earlier pulses. Humanity had shown its strength. Now the Thau were preparing to answer. The Horizon Array hummed at maximum capacity, trembling under the strain. And far above, a sphere of alien light began to expand, brighter with every passing second. The alien sphere of light swelled above the planet, bright enough to cast sharp shadows across rooftops from Montreal to Los Angeles. People shielded their eyes as the sky glowed with a cold, otherworldly shimmer. Even without understanding the science, the world sensed danger gathering in that expanding radiance. In the Colorado Command Center, the lights dimmed under the pressure of the Horizon Array's strain. Commander Ellis Maddox braced himself against the console. "Talk to me," he said. Dr. Kiera Lowell stared at the readings, heart thudding. "They're generating a synchronized compression wave," she said. "If they fire this, it'll tear through every orbital asset we have. Satellites, communications networks, gone." Maddox knew what that meant. Without those eyes in orbit, humanity would be blind. He looked around the room at the exhausted faces, engineers, strategists, technicians, many of them running on adrenaline and fear, but refusing to leave their posts. "Every world they've conquered," Maddox said quietly, "started this same way, didn't it?" Kiera nodded. "It's their doctrine. Crippled defenses first, forced surrender second. They see us as predictable." He exhaled slowly. "Then let's be unpredictable." The Horizon Array's operators were already scrambling to rebalance the power distribution. The array was pushed to its limit, the metal structure trembling underground like a living heart under stress. But Maddox had another idea, one that no one had ever attempted. He turned to the atmospheric control station. "Redirect the array's resonance to target the upper ionosphere, full inversion." A silence fell. Kiera stared at him in disbelief. "That could destabilize half the system. We don't know what it'll do." "That's the point," he replied. Human unpredictability was not a weakness. It was their greatest weapon. The technicians worked fast, fingers moving with sharp precision, rerouting channels that had never been touched during the array's lifespan. Warnings flooded the displays, but Maddox stood firm. Above them, the Thal sphere of light tightened into a perfect orb, glowing with the force of 1 billion compressed charges. They were seconds from releasing it. Kiera set a trembling hand on the resonance control. "On your mark, Commander." Maddox kept his eyes on the alien sphere. When it contracted one last time, like a lung preparing a breath, he issued the order. "Now." Kiera activated the inversion. The atmosphere didn't ripple this time. It roared. A surge of inverted charge blasted upward, not as a stable wave, but as a chaotic storm of spinning ions and magnetized currents. Not a shield, not a beam, but a turbulent wall of disruption. The alien sphere collided with Earth's atmospheric inversion. The reaction was instantaneous. The sphere cracked. Light erupted in every direction, not as a destructive blast, but as scattered ribbons diffusing across the sky like shattered auroras. Harmless beams drifted across the upper atmosphere, dissolving before reaching the ground. The command center erupted in stunned gasps. Kiera stumbled back a step. We neutralized it." Maddox nodded once. They expected precision. We answered with chaos. But the monitors quickly flashed with new alerts. The Thal were furious. For the first time since their arrival, their formation shifted without grace. It rippled with panicked energy signatures, vessels adjusting faster than any coordinated tactic. They were no longer treating Earth as a minor world. They were preparing for full-force engagement. Kiera swallowed hard. They're dropping closer to the surface. Indeed, the alien fleet was descending, slowly, steadily, moving from the safety of high orbit into the turbulent atmosphere. Lightning danced around their hulls as the ships cut into the planet's chaotic charge field. "Why would they come lower?" a technician asked. "That makes them vulnerable." Maddox knew the answer. They're done testing. They want direct control. A single Thal vessel broke formation, gliding ahead of the others like a spear point. Its hull glowed with a deep, shimmering blue, pulsing with a frequency Earth's sensors barely recognized. Kiera narrowed her eyes. That's their command ship. It descended toward the clouds, as if preparing to make contact, not with weapons, but with Earth itself. The horizon array hummed weakly, its earlier surge having pushed it beyond safe limits. Systems blinked. Warnings stacked. Humanity had used its greatest surprise. The Thal were coming anyway. As the alien command ship dropped through the atmosphere, a cold, steady realization spread through the control room. Earth's next move would not be made from afar. The next move would be face to face. The alien command ship broke through the clouds with a deep, resonant hum that rolled across the continent like distant thunder. People all over North America felt the vibration in their chests, a low pulse that made birds scatter and power lines tremble. The ship was enormous, smooth, oval-shaped, gliding with an unnatural steadiness. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't landing. It was searching. Commander Ellis Maddox watched it on the main display, jaw set. "They're scanning for the horizon array," he said. "They want to disable it from close range." Dr. Kiera Lowell shook her head. "We can't let them find the source. If they take out the array, we lose every advantage." But the array was strained to its limits. It had already done more than anyone believed possible, and now its once steady hum was flickering like a tired heartbeat. The alien ship hovered just above the lower cloud deck, moving slowly, deliberately. Its glowing blue hull pulsed in patterns, alien signals, alien calculations, mapping the planet's surface with precision. Kiera leaned in closer to her console. Their scan pattern is narrowing. They're moments away from locating the core chamber. Maddox made the call instantly. "Prepare the Aurora Protocol." Every technician froze. The Aurora Protocol was the final line of defense, an atmospheric ignition sequence never intended to be used against a living foe. It would create a burst of charged light across the sky, overwhelming any scan attempt. Safe for Earth, but dangerously unpredictable for anything hovering too close to the lower atmosphere. Kiera hesitated only once. "If we fire Aurora, the array might not survive the feedback." Maddox looked at her with steady resolve. "We're not saving machines. We're saving our world." She nodded. "Then let's finish this." The technicians activated the protocol. Deep beneath the Rockies, the array pulled the last of its energy reserves into one final fragile charge. The air above North America began to shimmer. Clouds thinned into glowing sheets. A hush fell over cities as people stared upward, unaware of the battle unfolding in the sky. The alien command ship paused mid-scan, its hull brightening with sudden concern. And the atmosphere ignited. Not with fire, but with light. A brilliant curtain swept across the sky, brighter than the northern auroras, yet soft, shimmering in waves that danced from horizon to horizon. It washed over the alien ship in a heartbeat. The Thal vessel jolted, shields sputtering as the overload hit. Its scanning arrays flickered, confused by the atmospheric surge. The ship tried to stabilize, but the currents were too wild, too unfamiliar. Kiera watched the reading spike. They're losing control. Maddox kept his voice steady. Hold the pulse. The aurora intensified, shimmering like a living river. The alien command ship wavered, its flight path wobbling for the first time. Its hull vibrated, energy signatures spasming across its surface as it struggled against a planet fighting back with raw, natural force. Finally, with a heavy, shifting groan reverberating through the sky, the Thal vessel pulled upward, retreating from the atmosphere. It climbed rapidly, abandoning its scan, its descent, and its certainty of victory. The rest of the Thal fleet reacted instantly. Their formation shifted into a full echelon withdrawal pattern, a movement no human analyst had seen from them before. "They're leaving," Kiera whispered. "It's a full retreat." On the screens, one ship after another broke away, rising toward the upper atmosphere, then accelerating into open space. Not a strategic repositioning, not a temporary fallback, an escape. Earth had done the impossible. Earth had stood unbroken. As the last alien vessel vanished into the black, a quiet calm settled over the command center. People stared at the displays in stunned silence, absorbing the reality of what they had just witnessed. Then Kiera finally exhaled. "They thought we'd fall," she said softly. "They thought we were predictable." Maddox looked around at his team, the exhausted technicians, the sleepless analysts, the scientists who refused to give up. "They miscalculated everything," he replied, "because they didn't understand who we are." Outside, the aurora faded into the early dawn, leaving behind a quiet sky. A sky Earth had earned the right to keep. Humanity had survived the impossible, not with superior technology, not with overwhelming force, but with unity, ingenuity, and a ferocious determination to protect its home. The galaxy will remember this day. Earth-born wrath had awakened, and the universe would never underestimate humanity again. The command center fell silent as Maddox stepped back from the console. A new sunlit calm washed across the world. But deep in the darkness of space, far beyond Earth's reach, the Thal regrouped. Wounded, shaken, and watching. Humanity had won the first battle. The story of what would come next was only beginning.